5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Start. The present matter comes up before this court in relation to a civil petition filed by the petitioner seeking relief against what is alleged to be an unlawful and arbitrary termination from employment by the respondent organization. The petitioner, who had served in the respondent institution for over 8 years in a senior administrative role, claims that the termination was carried out without issuance of a show-cause notice, without conducting a proper domestic inquiry, and without affording him a chance to present his side of the story. It is submitted by learned counsel for the petitioner that the dismissal letter cited vague allegations of misconduct without specifying dates, facts, or evidentiary basis. The petitioner was neither served with any prior notice nor informed of any departmental proceedings initiated against him. It is further asserted that he received an abrupt communication terminating his services with immediate effect, which caused severe mental agony, reputational damage, and financial distress. According to the petitioner, the principles of natural justice have been flagrantly violated, and the action taken is not only illegal but also malicious in intent. The counsel appearing on behalf of the petitioner has drawn attention to the fact that during his long tenure, the petitioner received multiple performance awards and was never subjected to disciplinary action. It is contended that the abrupt termination came as a shock and appeared to be motivated by internal bias and professional rivalry within the department. The petitioner had raised concerns about certain irregularities in the accounts department. A few months prior to his termination, and it is alleged that the action against him was a retaliatory move to silence his voice. The counsel submitted that termination without following due process is in clear violation of service regulations applicable to the organization and is liable to be set aside. In support of these claims, the petitioner has annexed copies of performance appraisals, internal emails, and departmental guidelines that outline the mandatory requirement of issuing a charge sheet and conducting an inquiry before passing any order of dismissal. The respondent organization, in its written response as well as oral submissions, has opposed the petition and defended its action, stating that the termination was done strictly in accordance with the terms of appointment and applicable service rules. It is contended that the petitioner was employed on a contractual basis with a clause that allowed either party to terminate the contract by giving 1 month's notice or payment in lieu thereof. The counsel for the respondent has argued that in view of this contractual arrangement, no separate inquiry or disciplinary proceeding was necessary, and the principles of natural justice are not attracted in cases of contractual termination without stigma. It is further submitted that the organization has paid the petitioner 1 month's salary in lieu of notice and hence complied with the legal requirements. The counsel refuted the allegation of malice or retaliation, stating that the decision was purely administrative and was based on the organization's internal restructuring plan. It is also emphasized that the petitioner's role had become redundant in the new organizational framework and his services were no longer required. Upon hearing the detailed submissions made by both parties, and after carefully perusing the pleadings and supporting documents placed on record, this court is of the view that certain key issues require close scrutiny. It is essential to distinguish between a termination simpliciter as per contractual terms and a punitive termination that carries an element of stigma. These allegations, even if not formally conveyed to the petitioner, raise a serious question as to whether the termination was in fact punitive in nature. If the employer chooses to act on allegations of misconduct, it is incumbent upon them to hold a proper inquiry and give the employee an opportunity to respond. Bypassing this process and choosing to invoke a contractual clause cannot be permitted when the foundation of the termination lies in unproven allegations. Even in cases of contractual employment, if the termination is motivated by allegations that adversely affect the employee's reputation or future employability, an inquiry must precede the order. In this case, the materials produced by the respondent include internal correspondences that refer to alleged dereliction of duty and financial impropriety. While the respondent claims these were never officially communicated, the presence of such records implies that the action taken may not have been merely administrative or routine. This court finds that the respondent ought to have issued a formal notice to the petitioner, allowed him to respond to the allegations, and conducted at least a preliminary hearing. The failure to do so renders the termination procedurally unfair and legally unsustainable. Therefore, based on the legal principles applicable, this court finds merit in the petitioner's case. Accordingly, the impugned order of termination is set aside. The respondent organization is directed to reinstate the petitioner in service with continuity of service and all consequential benefits. However, considering that the petitioner has not performed duties for the intervening period, he shall be entitled only to 50% back wages from the date of termination until reinstatement. The respondent shall complete the process of reinstatement within a period of 4 weeks from the date of this order. It is clarified that if the organization still desires to proceed with disciplinary action against the petitioner, it shall be free to do so in accordance with law and by following due process. The petitioner shall cooperate fully with any such inquiry and shall not treat this order as an expression of clean chit on the merits of the allegations. The registry is directed to forward a copy of this order to the respondent organization for immediate compliance. Both parties are advised to avoid further litigation and resolve any future disputes through mutual discussion or institutional grievance redressal mechanisms. In view of the circumstances of the case and in order to uphold fairness, this court refrains from imposing any costs on either party. With these directions, the writ petition stands disposed of. Stop.